How's it going, everybody? This is the Redhead Gamer. I'd like to welcome you back to another one of my last year guides. This time we're actually going to be looking at the classmate side of things, and I'm going to teach you guys how to play Assault. Now, the Assault's main goal as a classmate to help out the team, as it sounds, is to do damage to the Fiend. But a lot of people who play last year for the first time often get confused as to how exactly the Assault is supposed to work. A lot of people assume because the Assault is called the Assault and has a helmet and a pipe, he's supposed to just run in and start beating on the Fiend, which is an absolutely horrible idea. Never do that. Okay, you're supposed to do that, but don't go head to head with the Fiend is what I'm trying to say. You're not a warrior in World of Warcraft. You're not a goddamn knight in shining armor who's going to 1v1 the Fiend in an epic display of combat. You're just a classmate with a goddamn pipe. So what does that mean? You gotta play the way you know how, which is simply put, guerrilla warfare. At the beginning of the game, as with any classmate, you want to start rushing for scrap in order to build items which will help you defeat the Fiend. As you can see here, I did pick up the sledgehammer, mostly because I just wanted to grab it. But now that we have 13 scrap, we're gonna be doing something here soon. Usually if you can get 18 first, it's a pretty good idea to build a helmet, not a helmet, but a Molotov, because the Molotov is pretty good at countering most of the Fiends in the game, especially the Spider. And it's really powerful at the moment, so you're able to do a lot of damage with it. However, another good first choice to build is your helmet, because that will give you some extra defense against the Fiend. As you can see here, we basically go in, get a few hits off, and then we start running in. As the Assault, you want to hit the Fiend when the Fiend isn't focusing you, or they just wasted their main ability. So for example, if the Slasher cleaves, that would be a good time to run in and start getting hits. However, you gotta be mindful, because the Fiend does a lot of damage, and they also have a lot of health. So if you just go running in there like I've been saying, you're going to die near instantly, because the Fiend is basically just gonna 1v1 you, and you're gonna get wrecked. A good time to go in as the Assault is when the Scout lands a blind or the Fiend is preoccupied with beating up on somebody else. Or if they have somebody in a grab, a chain, what have you. You want to play aggressive when you know for a fact the Fiend can't focus you, or if you have medics on you to back you up. As you can see here, we're basically just running up behind this Spider here, wailing as we can. And although Beifu got in some shotgun shots to do a lot of damage, we were beating the crap out of him with our pipe there. So we were able to get in a good amount of damage ourselves as well. That's the moments you want to look for, when the Fiend is preoccupied. And like I was also saying, the helmet comes in handy when it comes to soaking up damage, so be sure to build that quite often. It'll usually save your life, and against a lot of the weaker Fiends, such as Strangler or Spider, it can actually soak up a lot of damage for you and allow you to get some damage done to the Fiends. However, do be mindful that some abilities will instantly destroy the helmet and take some of your health, and some bypass the helmet in general. For example, Spider's Acid will do true health damage, so your helmet will not save you if you're standing in it. Also, the Cleave is a pretty good attack that will basically knock your helmet off near instantly, and a lot of smart and good Fiends will basically hit you until your helmet's gone and then go in for the Cleave. So make sure you get out of the way before the helmet gets knocked off, or else you're going to find yourself in a really tough position. Right now we're just kind of pushing the objective because the Fiend was preoccupied with somebody else here. And because there's two objectives in this part of the mine, we basically just put it to work here. So now that we have this down, we're basically going to scrap up and try to get some better equipment for ourselves. There's a lot of items like we've been talking about. Excuse me, there are a lot of items we've been talking about, but one I haven't really talked about is the bat. And the bat is a really good item in order to do a lot of damage to a Fiend. However, it's also your most costly item as the Assault, coming in at about 34 scrap a pop. The bat's also really good because you can drop it and give it to other classmates. So if it's the end game and you want to team up on the Fiend and they're playing somebody weaker, say, Spider or Strangler, this is where you can really shine, because if you build multiple bats and give them to some of your allies, then the classmates can essentially swarm him and beat the ever-living crap out of him until he dies. And let me tell you, you mix that with Pen Up Rage, which is a great spell, and then you mix that up with Bloodlust, you can essentially give yourself a goddamn near unstoppable edge over the Fiend, especially if your team is working with you. Some common strategies that people use when playing as the Assault is the Medic Assault combo. Of course, if the Medic is behind you healing you all the way and you're able to do damage, then you're going to have a good time. However, the Medic cannot often out-heal the damage that the Fiend can do. So a good tactic is to go in, get a few hits off, and then once the Fiend hits you about twice, that's your cue to run away. When you're low on health, you run off, find your Medic, and they'll heal you up. As a classmate, you have superior speed and maneuverability compared to the Fiend. You can always outrun the Fiends. In order for the Fiend to catch you, they'll have to go in the Predator mode. So keep that in mind whenever the Fiend is on you. You can just turn around and sprint away. Another common mistake that Assaults make, speaking of stamina, is your stamina bar. Long story short, always be mindful that your pipe hits do take up stamina. So if you're not careful, you can end up overusing your pipe and then cause yourself to be unable to run away, as you basically just get blitzed straight into hell. As you can see here, we're trying to do some hardcore parkour in order to prevent ourselves from being killed here. And we managed to get away and build a helmet. That's also a good way to save yourself if you're being chased by the Fiend, by the way, and you're low on health and the Medic isn't around. Get away, and once you're sure that you have enough distance and they're not going to spawn in and just kill you on the spot, build yourself a helmet as soon as possible. It'll give you an extra bit of cushion from the Fiend, so you're not just going to get wiped off the map that easily. Also, you can destroy spider nests in about 3 or 4 pipe hits, which is super nice. Very useful in clearing them very quickly. So just remember to use your brute force and your defensive capabilities to the best of your advantage, and that will help you get along in life. So we're running the gear up here real quick while the Fiend's preoccupied, no problem. Call in all Gucci. Another tactic you need to keep in mind as the Assault is body blocking. Body blocking in last year is probably one of the greatest advantages that the classmates have over the Fiend. And any class can do this really, but the Assault really shines when it comes to this tactic because of their helmet. What you want to do is whenever you see an ally getting beat up on by the Fiend and you guys are grouped up, you want to throw yourself between the Fiend and your buddy. Because there is no collision between classmates, your buddy will be able to pass through you without any issue, and you'll be able to block the Fiend, get a few hits off, and cause them to either focus you or try to run on by and allow you to get a few hits in the process. So always remember to use your own body as a weapon when fighting against the Fiend. As you can see here, we're going up against the Spider, so we're trying to use fire to our advantage here. The Molotov is really nice against the Spider, as fire does bonus damage against him. And Walrus just jumped to his death, but that's okay. We're going to get some scrap and grab a hold of the goddamn gear, which teleported away at the last second. Unfortunate. That's just how the game goes sometimes, though, my friends. You just gotta get used to it and hope for the best. I'm just kind of minding my own business, crap talking my allies at this point, so that's why it's gone, pretty dull at this point. But yeah, the assault really shines against all fiends, and if you have 2 good assaults, then you can basically make a team just shine. The current meta at the moment is to actually have 2 assaults, 1 medic, 1 tech, and 1 scout. That way the 2 assaults can storm the fiend and beat the crap out of them after they're blinded by the scout, or the medic uses a taser to take away the fiend's main ability, rendering them powerless against your force. Alright, Spud's going for the fixing here, but he decided to drop it to make some crafts, so here we go. We run in, body block Spud with our own body, and then we try to grab a hold of these pills to heal up a little bit so we're not just instantly killed for existing. And then I'm trying to get out of this proxy mine because I don't want to be caught in that bad boy. And that's when I see, you know, they're putting in work there. And bada bing, bada boom. Walrus is dead again. Hashtag toxic. Got flamethrowered to death. But I didn't die, so I guess it counts, you know? I think that's about everything I've covered there that you need to know about the assault. Basically, just spam helmets, use Molotovs against the fiends such as Spider, Giant, and Strangler. Oh yeah, and don't forget that the Slasher does have a resistance against fire. So although Molotovs still do a little bit of damage against him, it won't do as much damage as it would against other fiends. So be mindful of that. And be sure to hit the fiend when they're not looking at you or preoccupied with somebody else. And if you do engage the fiend head on, get a few hits and then retreat back to your medic so that they can heal you up. Yeah, and use the bat when you need a big amount of damage. You'll rarely need to use it in my opinion, but you know, just something to keep in mind. Also, I'll put it at the beginning of the video here. But best spells to use as assaults is Bloodlust mixed with Pent-Up Rage. That way, if you get the finishing hit on a fiend, you get bonus health, which is nice for you. And also Pent-Up Rage, if you get a few hits on cryptids, your attacks will do more damage. Another thing I like to do, a lot of people always look at me weird for, is I like to mix Pent-Up Rage with Brawler. Because, you know, a lot of people think because you're playing Assault, you wouldn't really need Brawler because you have your pipe. But the real, you know, icing on the cake there is that if you have Brawler, you don't have to use your stamina when it comes to hitting people. So long story short, you can get up behind folks, start hitting them, and then if you start running out, you can just resort to punches, which will do a little bit more damage than your regular punch. But they won't do as much as your pipe, but it allows you to regenerate your energy while you're beating up on the fiend, and then once you have enough, you can just go back in and start wailing on him again. See here, fiend is weakened, beat him up a little bit more, and we are golden. Oh yeah, and I'll talk about this while we have it up here. The Adrenaline and Assault combo is absolutely deadly. Not only does the Adrenaline give you unlimited stamina, so you can run in and start beating the crap out of people, it also allows you to sprint, so you can basically chase after the fiend and just wail on them for as long as your heart desires, or until they beat you down. So be mindful of a time where the fiend is very vulnerable, and pop an Adrenaline. Get your scout to make you one, and you can just go in and start beating the ever-living crap out of them in a glorious display of death. It's really enjoyable, trust me. Like so. Oh yeah. No energy to worry about, just pure unadulterated beating with a pipe. Then you just run up and smack away. Unfortunately, I got caught in the proxy there, so I had to run off because I didn't have a lot of health to spare. So I just started running for my life in order to get away here. And we're going to get to the exit here, call it good. Everything is fine. I decided to build a Molotov here at the last second to help out the team. That way we can burn the spider a little bit and then I get out. And as you can see here, everybody's getting out, placing proxies, just doing their thing in order to slow down the fiend or damage them. And there's one smoke. The fiend is dead, and there's not really a lot of time left, so people are sitting at the end, minding their own business, dancing around, and then they're like, oh, well, it's time to get out. And they decide to jump away. Good times. And there you have it, folks. That's the assault guide for you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them below. And I will see you guys later. Hope this helps you out, and I will see you guys in the nightmare. Peace, my friends.